Ces Butner, and I have the honor as this year's president of the Rotary Club of Oakland. Founded in 1908, the Rotary Club of Oakland is the third oldest Rotary Club of some 35,000 Rotary clubs throughout the world. We are a community of 300 men and women from all walks of Oakland civic, commercial, and community life committed to the Rotary motto of service above self. I'd like to welcome you all to our 5,305th club meeting. And for over 111 years, we have welcomed Rotarians and guests from around the world to our club meetings. We continue to do so virtually. So if you're visiting Rotarian, or if you're a guest of a Rotarian, please let us know by typing your name and the name of your club into the chat box located at the center bottom of your screen, as indicated by the red arrow on the slide you're viewing now. By doing so, we will be able to recognize you later in this meeting. And also, we recommend that all participants view the speaker view button located in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. And if you have comments throughout the meeting or questions from the speaker, please use the chat button at the bottom for that as well. And now, the thought for the day, we have Mia Banta.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. I'm Mia Banta. I'm the CEO of Oakland Promise. And my thought for today is to ensure that we are building a brighter future for our youth in particular. When we think about our legacy and what we want to leave on this planet, I'm so thrilled to know that the Oakland Rotary is focused on service first. And as we think about what we want to do as we move forward, think of our youth first. Think of what we need to do to ensure that they have a brighter future. Think of what we need to do to leave a strong legacy, a healthy planet, a sustainable planet, a world where children can be sure to achieve their dreams, and an Oakland that ensures that everyone has a thriving future. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mia. We appreciate those thoughtful words. Because we want to remain grounded and focused, we begin our meetings by reciting our vision, which is, together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. Today, I'm excited for two reasons. First, this is our first in our newly branded series of Oakland Rotary Civic Thursdays. And second, I'm honored and excited to welcome our first speaker in that series, a true civic leader and our Congresswoman. Because she has a lot to do today since the Democratic Convention is going on, we'll change our order of our meeting and letting her go first at the beginning of our meeting. But first, former District Governor Ed Gelin, do we have any visiting Rotarians?
Yes, President Ces, we do have some terrific visiting Rotarians today. We have Wendy Howard's guest from the second oldest club, San Francisco. So welcome to Kevin Leong. Kevin, so nice to have you here with us at the third oldest club, Oakland 3. And we also have President Ces from the San Leandro Club. We have Kirby Johnson. And so welcome to Kirby and the San Leandro Club. And we also have a good friend of Oakland 3 who's now in Hawaii and wants to, or has joined us today, Romeo Garcia. So welcome to all our guests and visiting Rotarians.
Thank you, Ed. And if any more guests show up later, we'll introduce them.
Thank you, President Butner. And fellow Rotarians, I hope you can see how excited I was last week about this exciting moment in Rotarian Oakland 3 history. I've known our honorable speaker for most of my life, and I'm so honored and pleased to be able to introduce a dear friend, a mentor, and just an amazing human being, our Congresswoman Barbara Lee. Congresswoman Barbara Lee is known nationally and internationally, serving in Congress since 1998. Currently, Congresswoman Barbara Lee is serving as the senior member of the powerful Appropriations Committee, the committee that controls the federal purse strings. Congresswoman Lee is also the vice chair of Subcommittee on State, Foreign, operations, and related programs, where she is able to continue her long advocacy for international peace, human rights, and global health. During her tenure on the Hill, Congresswoman Lee has served in leadership on countless committees and caucuses. Known as the conscience of Congress, Congresswoman Barbara Lee continues to hold her colleagues to the highest standard. In a recent documentary about her legacy, which is titled Truth to Power, Barbara Lee Speaks for Me, one congressional colleague after another shared the behind-the-scenes stories of Barbara Lee's courage and strength, one that even led to our Congresswoman taking that heroic stance as the lone vote against the Iraq War. That vote not only proved our Congresswoman's courage and leadership, but also her insight and wisdom. Today, Congresswoman Lee is still fighting for us locally at the national level. And most recently, which we will hear more about today, is Congress's response to COVID-19, the CARES Act. I hope that you are as thrilled as I am about this historic moment in Rotary history, our first Rotary address by Congresswoman Barbara Lee. So please join me in welcoming our Honorable Congresswoman Barbara Lee. And let me be the first to ring the bell in honor of Congresswoman Lee. So let the bells begin to ring. Congresswoman, the floor is yours.
Well, Shonda, so good to see you. Thank you so much for that very spirited and warm introduction. And also, I just have to say thank you for your assistance in today's presentation, but also for your leadership with our African American Chamber of Commerce, Chamber, and everything that you do each and every day to make sure that small businesses, minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses really achieve the type of parity that they so deserve, because we know that it's small businesses and minority-owned businesses who create the jobs that fuel our economy. And you have done such a remarkable job. And so I'm really proud of you. And tell your mother and dad hello for me. So thank you again. And Ces, I'm so glad to see you, President Butner, excuse me. And thank you for keeping the course steady in my district on so many fronts. We've been friends for many, many years, and he's helped me in so many ways just to get to where I am today. So thank you, Ces. And thanks to all of the Oakland Rotary members, all of the Rotarians and guests who are with us today. A couple of things before I start. I have a couple of personal stories about the Rotary Club. I graduated from San Fernando High School. A lot of people don't know that, and that I was actually a music and journalism major. Well, when I graduated, I received the Rotary Club Music Award Scholarship. And so the Rotary Club really helped me get to where I am today also. In addition, Shonda mentioned my travels, and I do serve as the vice chair of the funding committee that funds all of our development assistance programs, all of our international work. And every time I'm in Africa, on the continent of Africa, whether it's Ghana, Senegal, wherever, I visit and see Rotarians doing some amazing work with regard to polio, infectious diseases, building houses, just you all keep the world connected to my district. And so I just want to thank you because, Supervisor John George used to tell us, think locally, act globally. Well, the Rotary Club certainly does that. And so each time I'm on the continent of Africa, I get a chance to visit and see the work that you all are doing there. So it's wonderful. And just thanks for inviting me to be with you. Everyone knows that our country is at a crossroads. We're in the middle of so many crises right now. The pandemic has taken so many lives, the worst economic collapse that we have ever seen in our lifetimes, the global climate emergency, the crisis of systemic racism, and all of these crises present to us a pandemic upon a pandemic upon a pandemic. So this crossroads really requires us to look at how we solve our problems differently. I do, as Shonda said, serve on the Appropriations Committee. And so just in terms of some housing initiatives this year, we worked and I helped on this $25.8 billion for tenant rental assistance, which is badly needed. I know in my district, We put in $4.6 billion for public housing operating funding, and of course, $430 million for housing for people with HIV and AIDS. That's in our fiscal 21 appropriations bill. But also the pandemic, as you know, has led to an unprecedented eviction crisis. Now we're seeing about 20% of U.S. renters who are facing evictions in September due to COVID-19. And for me, for so many, housing, decent and safe housing should be a human right. And so we have to help people stay safe, keep them in their homes, and prevent this foreclosure and homelessness crisis that we see in our area like no other. And so we have to try to begin not only to mitigate against that, but to stop it. And so our city councils in Oakland, they're voting, and I think they just voted to extend the moratorium until the state of emergency expires on rent on evictions. And also, it really does buy people just a little bit of time. So we have to step up at the federal level to make sure that we do the right thing. We passed in June, mind you, I think it was probably June 29th, the Emergency Housing Protections and Relief Act of 2020. And what that does, and this is an extremely important bill because it's in the Senate now, it provides $100 billion to emergency rental assistance. It also creates a $75 billion relief fund for homeowners and extends the eviction and foreclosure moratorium put in place by the CARES Act through March 2021. So that's now in the Senate where we don't know what's going on. Actually, excuse me, that was the HEROES Act. We passed several bills, but this is in the HEROES Act, which we now have passed in the House, but we're waiting for the Senate to move. So we're still trying to get that done. Of course, you know, we're going to go back on Saturday to vote to make sure that the Postal Service is secured. We have a bill that would allow or authorize and appropriate $25 billion for the Postal Service. Aside from what's taking place in terms of just trying to suppress the vote, we know that the Postal Service is there, and it helps so many of our veterans receive their medicines. It helps anyone who wants to buy prescription drugs through the mail. Some people still use the mail to write letters and send cards. I mean, should not be a partisan issue. It's nonpartisan and hopefully, or bipartisan. Hope we'll have both sides of the House voting for this $25 billion. We've got to stop these boxes from being taken away. We've got to make sure the sorting machines are there. And we've got to make sure that the employees are protected with the personal protective equipment. Just as an employee, I'm a granddaughter of a former letter carrier. You know, the other part of this is so many African Americans and people of color work for the Postal Service. My grandfather, in the day, retired from the Postal Service. He was a letter carrier, 35 years. And I remember as a child going to get his retirement check. Then it was $200. But you know what? That was the main way into the middle class for African Americans. It was through the Postal Service. Now there's an attempt to privatize the Postal Service. What's taking place now is hurting our employees who deserve, they're essential workers. They're on the front lines and they deserve to be protected, and their salaries and benefits should be secured. So part of what we're doing on Saturday will be to try to make sure that the Postal Service and our workers and your ability to vote if you want to by mail at home is preserved. Finally, let me just say the part of the HEROES Act that's so important for my district is the state and local government provision, because we know that state and local governments hire people who work on the front lines to provide the services that are needed, especially during this horrific pandemic. In the CARES bill, we put funding in, but it only was appropriate, and the criteria only related to cities and local jurisdictions of over 500,000 people. None of my cities in my district have 500,000 people. So in the HEROES Act, we've reduced it to under actually 50,000. And so this state and local government provision of the HEROES Act is extremely important for my district, because we do not want to these massive layoffs. They cannot have them. We know the economic crisis already has hit the Bay Area so hard. And if we don't pass the state and local provisions, we're going to see massive layoffs, and that just can't happen. We have more money for the the businesses in terms of the Protection Paycheck Act. We have a lot of provisions that would help make sure that our small businesses, which I think now is like, what, 40% of African-American businesses have gone under. And so we have provisions in the HEROES Act for quote, unbanked businesses that may have 1 or 2 employees and may not necessarily have been able to benefit under the CARES Act, and still under the last bill, we haven't done enough. But we did set aside the $60 billion, but we need to do more, because I'm hearing from people each and every day that they cannot access those funds. So I'll just stop now and just say thank you very much for inviting me to be here with you. Much is at stake. You know, we have some serious political issues in terms of our democracy being very fragile right now. And I'm encouraging all of you to be sure you vote, and you vote early. And let us know in my office if you're having any difficulties with any of the federal agencies, because we're here to be advocates for my constituents with the federal government. So many people right now are getting caught up in the bureaucracy, and sometimes we can help. In fact, most of the times we can help with whatever federal assistance that you need. So thank you again, Ces. Thank you, Shonda, very much. Really good to be with you, and congratulations to all.
Thank you, Barbara. We really appreciate you coming. The Congresswoman came to us and said, Sandeepa, I think we have a few questions for the Congresswoman.
Sure. Okay.
As well. Do we, one of the questions?
Sure.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
My name is Kirby Thompson. Since the post office is underwhelmed or overwhelmed, why can't they put some of the unemployed to work at the post office during election season to help with the ballot? Since it's such a yeoman's task on it, why can't they put the unemployed to work there?
Well, that's a good idea, but the Postal Service is trying to cut the budget so that even the employees right now who are working would be laid off. And so we're trying to make sure we protect the existing jobs and put funding in to, it's $25 billion funding that will secure the post office as it is now. But I think in terms of new hires, if we get to that point where we can, I think that's a very good idea, and I think we should do that, and I would certainly advocate for it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So Linda Hamilton says, so wonderful to hear from our hero. We need more like you in the leadership. What is the possibility of a version of HEROES Act being passed prior?
I'm having a hard time hearing you. I'm sorry, I could not hear that question. Was it about the possibility of the HEROES Act being passed?
Before, they were asking whether or not the HEROES Act could be passed before the convention ends, before the Republican convention ends.
Well, we're going back again Saturday. We know we're going to vote on a postal bill. We've been trying to get Mitch McConnell to agree to passing the HEROES Act. So far, no good. He will not bring the Senate back. But believe you me, we're pushing to try to get the Senate to come back into session. We know that there are 20 senators who won't vote for anything, but we're trying to put together a coalition where we can have Republicans and Democrats in the Senate vote for something. But right now, it's up to Mitch McConnell to call the Senate back in. We passed this almost 3 months ago, the HEROES Act. So it's sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk. So it's not going to be passed unless he comes in and does some magic this week. The convention ends tonight, and the Republican convention, of course, next week, which I don't know where their, if their attention span will be on passing the HEROES Act. But we're certainly prepared to do what we need to do. We'll be there. If they send it back to the House, we'll be there to vote on whatever the conference committee or whatever the negotiations work through.
There is a beautiful question from Leanne. Are there any plans in the Congress to do something about the truncated and unrealistic time frame to finish all the counting by 9:30, and door knocking efforts will only have 2 months to complete the count? Sorry, my question is about the census.
Oh, about the census, thank you. And I hope everybody has filled out the census or you're filling it out. Because now what we are fighting, they brought the deadline down to the end of September. We tried to get it extended. And so who knows? Right now, we're just encouraging people to make sure that they do the census as quickly as possible. We have a lot of census and, takers who are working with constituents online. And please feel free to call my office and we can give you all of the deadlines that we have to comply with. One thing about the census and why it's so important is not only does it determine your voice in elected office in Congress, but also it determines how many resources, how many tax dollars come back to us for job creation, for economic assistance, for housing, healthcare, transportation, education. The census is so important in terms of formulas for investing in communities so that everyone can move forward and live the type of life they so deserve. So please fill out the census and please call my office and we'll give you the entire lay of the land and where to go and how we're working with the county and the city on this.
Mary asks, Barbara, if appointed, will you be willing to fulfill the rest of Senator Kamala's term?
I'm getting that question a lot.
Yeah.
I am totally focused on November 3rd, okay? We have got to get Kamala Harris as our vice president. Since you mentioned that, Joe Biden as president, and we have got to, for me, I've got to work to make sure we keep the House and take back the Senate. And so that, as a Democrat, is what I'm doing right now. Those are the elections right now that matter.
Very good.
So I'm not sure if you're seeing all these comments. There are some wonderful comments for you, Barbara. So wonderful to hear from you, from a hero of humanitarianism. We need more like you in leadership.
Thank you. Well, listen, we've got a heck of a lot of tremendous leaders in Congress. I am the highest ranking African-American woman in the House of Representatives. But come on, that's been like since 1789. And when I was elected, I was the 20th Black woman in 1998 to ever serve in Congress when I was elected. So you see, there are a lot of members, though, women and men, women of color, everyone who are just leading the charge on so many issues. So thank you very much for that. But we have a good squad together that we're working with.
And
I've got one question here. What are you going to do? What can you do in Congress about the whole postal system problem? Because this could be a problem for us, really, when the election time.
It could be, and that's why we're trying to stop it now. We know what they're doing. They've already started.
What you.
But it's passing that bill. Let me tell you, $25 billion is the bill that we put together that the Postal Board of Governors, which were all Trump appointees, they asked us to do. They proposed this. That would secure all of our boxes. That would secure the postal service, the mail delivery, the efficiency of it so that our ballots get there on time, the whole 9 yards. We're going to do that. Now, short of the Senate doing anything, what we're doing is this. We're asking people to call the voter registrar's office. We need more poll watchers virtually and physically. We're going to have mail-in ballots, vote at home, absentee, where I'm asking people vote by October 15th. So you can track, you will be able to find out when your ballot gets there and if it's been counted. And so this is going to be a whole new ballgame because it is going to be a large percentage of it's going to be virtual. If you don't want to do it by mail, find out where, because they've consolidated polling places. Find out where you would vote this time and do that early. Make sure that the health protocols, and that's the other challenge, making sure that the health protocols are in place for those who want to go vote. But Ces, we're working with our legal team now. We're working with new people who are going to help us monitor the polls. And we're looking at people who want to get their ballot mailed in. If they can't get it mailed in, we had a town meeting a couple of days ago. The registrar of voters is in our county is doing a wonderful job. We're asking people to help him. He needs volunteers, but we've got to make sure because a lot of the boxes that we need have been shut down from East Oakland to San Leandro. And I'm saying, what is this lockdown? So we're getting those reopened. So this is coming from on high. This is coming from the 45th occupant of the White House. Just know this is not a local issue. This is coming directly down. So I've asked for the guy, LaJoy, to resign. I mean, a lot of us want him out, and he needs to go.
Wow. Sandeepa, did you have one more question?
I do, if Sandeepa doesn't.
Go ahead.
Hi, Amy Newman from Rotary in San Leandro. Hi, Ces.
How you doing?
Good. So from San Leandro, I was curious if you were at the House of Representatives when Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez spoke to or spoke about Ted Yohos and that interaction and what that kind of felt like in the room when she was brilliant speech.
Oh yes, I was there. I spoke, and actually, what I said on the floor, it was amazing because social media picked it up. I think over 500,000 people watched what I said. We all rallied around AOC, and I was going to be there on the floor with her, but I knew, and so many people wanted to speak, I was going to hold back. But instead, she asked me to speak, and so I spoke. And let me tell you, this misogynistic behavior, this sexist behavior, this disrespect for women is not only throughout the country on the outside, it's on the inside in the House of Representatives. And so just know that women have to fight that inside of the Congress also. And AOC, I think, stepped up. She handled it very well. And out of that, I think more people in our country are beginning to see what we as women, and especially women of color, have to deal with all the time.
Well, I know you have to go soon, so I'm going to bring this to a close by asking one more question that we have on here. But it's from Dudley, our president-elect. He says, Ces has a focus on homeless in Oakland. What can be done specifically from Congress to help us with our homeless population?
Yeah, let me tell you. Well, first of all, there's a bill, and homelessness it's a moral disgrace. It's a shame and disgrace. I think it's like 75-80% of the unsheltered population, African Americans. It's really it's something that we should all be ashamed of. Also, it is now when you see the face of the new homeless and who they are, many are people who were evicted. They're living in the streets with their furniture. And so we've got to get this eviction crisis under control and stop the evictions. But also in Congress, there's one bill that I'm working on with Congresswoman Waters, which is called the Emergency Housing Protections and Relief Act, which would provide emergency assistance for homeless programs. But also, as a member of the Appropriations Committee, we bumped up the account for homelessness. So we have federal funds that are coming down to the local level. How the local level, puts all of this together is what we have to figure out. The strategies, because we fight, and it's not enough federal money coming, but we do get federal money for, homeless assistance, but also for wraparound services and for what else is needed in terms of medical and healthcare. Now with COVID, we have our unsheltered population has the pandemic upon pandemic because they need health protection and the health protocols in place. And so the federal money, and we can tell you a little bit more about all of the bills, but we have a way to federally fund a heck of a lot of our whole housing initiatives if, in fact, Ben Carson at HUD would cooperate, and if, in fact, Senator Mitch McConnell would cooperate. And I share this because it boils down to, in many ways, at the federal level, a political struggle, because HUD they, for whatever reason, they don't seem to think unsheltered people deserve to be sheltered. And what we put into the HEROES Act, we know that the numbers of people are increasing. Evidently, Mitch McConnell doesn't feel that. And so just know that we're doing everything we can do, and we're trying to get as much of, and you know me as an appropriator, I'm trying to get every federal dollar I can find into my district.
Well, thank you for that, because we'll be asking. Of course, Rotary is going to start a major initiative to try to do something about the homeless here in Oakland.
Good. Well, I work with you
be-
on that, Ces. I'm really glad, because you all do phenomenal work around the world on housing and unsheltered populations. So
Thank you so
it would
much.
be great.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman. You're the best. Always.
Thank you.
I enjoy
Thank you.
it.
Thank you all for my music scholarship.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Lee.
Wait a minute.
Great to
Barbara,
see
don't leave yet.
Okay.
For being our speaker for today, we want to thank you for all your efforts all over the years for representing us all in Congress. This year, our club is making homeless crisis in Oakland a priority. To that end, and as our gift to you for being our speaker for the day, we are, in your honor, we're making a donation to support our unhoused residents in Oakland.
Thank you.
Additionally, we would like to give you our centennial book, which documents 100 years of service to the third oldest club in Rotary world, Oakland number 3, written by our very own Rotarian.
God. That's such an honor. The third oldest in the world. I mean, what? In my congressional district. I'm so
That's
proud
it.
and honored. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I know you have to go, and we appreciate everything you've done for us.
Okay, bye-bye.
A lot of bell ringers for Barbara.
We got a lot of bell ringers for us, too. She didn't get to hear that.
What did you say?
We got a lot of bell ringers for you. The bell ringers are a $100 donation to the Oakland Rotary Endowment on behalf of you. It's what they're ringing the bell for. So how many bells do we have to ring, Sandeep?
Hey.
Beth Hillman rings the bell. Keith rings the bell. Yeah, we have Ames Superintendent Maya Woods rings the bell. We have I'm trying to
Scott also, if I may, Shonda Scott rang the bell, and we also had 2 bell ringers.
2 bell ringers for Joycey Mack.
Wow.
Thank you for those bell ringers.
Wow.
We raised a little money even for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good seeing everybody.
Right.
Stay safe,
Bye-bye.
wear your mask, do your social distancing, do everything we need to do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Okay.
Lee.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Congresswoman Lee. We want to thank her so much for taking the time out of our busy schedule. She has another appointment to go to at 1 o'clock here right now, so she has to leave us. She's supposed to get to, I forgot who it was. But
Yeah, the Native American Caucus.
Native American Caucus, that's what it was. Native American Caucus, she has to get.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
Thank
thanks
you.
a million. Bye-bye.
So, getting on with our program, Rotarian Riza Hernandez, I think you have a special announcement for us today.
Hi, I do. Thank you, President Ces. Today, August 20th, 2020, is the first day of Muharram, which marks the new year in the Islamic calendar. The Islamic New Year has been observed in this way since 622 AD, when the Prophet Muhammad fled from Mecca to Medina to escape religious persecution. The Islamic calendar is based on the lunar. It has 12 months, but only 354 days. This year marks the year 1441. The day is an official holiday in some Muslim countries, but is a regular working day in others. The Islamic New Year is usually celebrated with low-key religious events. However, some Muslims, Shiites specifically, honor this month by flagellating themselves. You see, this month also marks the death of Muhammad. The Shias believe that Hussein Ali, Muhammad's son, was the successor of Muhammad, that he was the last prophet of God. This is in contradictory to what the Sunnis believe, which is written in every Islamic prayer. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. There is no God but the Almighty Allah, and Muhammad is the last messenger of Allah. Shiites do not acknowledge this in their prayer, and thus are unwelcome in Mecca to perform Hajj, which is an Islamic sacrament. Now, although Muhammad's grandson is mourned this month, it is unrelated to the new year, Muharram. It is considered to be one of the holiest months in Islam, second only to Ramadan. Muharram in itself means forbidden to battle or hold ill will. Many Muslims use it as a period of prayer and reflection. Some Muslims celebrate and say, Kul am wa anatum bakya, which literally means, I wish you well on this occasion every year. Generally, there is nothing wrong with wishing someone good health and well-being every year, and that God bless them all the time. However, some Muslims, even within the Sunnis, might view this as an exaggeration of their New Year's festivities. They feel that because Islam doesn't promote such an occasion, and since it's not part of the Prophet's saying or actions, which we refer to as Sunnah, it's not right to celebrate. These Muslims have their own way of interpreting Islam's teachings. The general Muslim community around the world would be fine if someone simply wished them a Happy New Year, because there's nothing haram, which means forbidden or wrong, in such a statement. The occasion of New Year's Day is a time of joy and gathering with loved ones, friends, and families, and enjoy the first day of the year while praying to God to bless them and bring the best for the coming year. So, my friends, Kul am wa anatum bekya, and Happy New Year.
Thank you so much, Riza. You educated me in the meantime. So that's first thing, and that's what I think we try to do for all of our Rotarians here with everything that we do. Thank you so much for that. Now we have Isaac, I think, and Leanne, the chairs of the communications meeting, Public Relations and Communications Committee, will bring you an update on our new look and direction for this year. Why don't you tell us something?
Much, President Ces. Great to be here on such a historic day for our Rotary. Thanks to your leadership, and even building on the shoulders of President Peter last year, who was really excited about stepping up our communications, and honestly honoring work that goes back with. I want to recognize Allison Bliss, Leanne, my co-chair this year, Linda, Anna Marie, and many, many more. We're really trying to build on a lot of work done over the years to step up Rotary Oakland Communications to the next level. We do have a sort of new logo and motto for the year, Service Above Self there, which feel free, you can incorporate that into your Zoom background in the spirit of the day. And we are trying to make Rotary's brand presence vibrant in this digital age. Unfortunately, I think we all miss each other in terms of being out doing service, being out in the community, connecting with one another. Now we have to do it in these digital spaces. And so how can we build our community here, nurture our community here, and put forth the good news about the great work that we do, because we really feel like our mission is more relevant than ever in a time like this. So how does that show up? I think Sandeepa had a slide up there. We want to connect with all of you in every which way we can. So obviously there's the Zoom calls, which, by the way, we're going to move forward with a new name for these events, Oakland Rotary Civic Thursdays, so that people now out there start thinking, hey, I got to be connected with Oakland Rotary Civic Thursdays, that they can start putting that in their calendar, and we can start opening it up to a larger audience. To reach that larger audience, we are getting active on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Yes, your Oakland Rotary is on all 5 of those platforms, and if you have a presence on any of them, we ask that you follow our page, that you share our content, that you start engaging, because it's another way to have those conversations in passing, or those handshakes that you used to do in person. Right now, the best we can do are these digital connections. So that's really all. I want to also recognize the new members that signed up, and thank them all, because it's going to be very much a team effort. Thank you, Pat, and congratulations on all your amazing legacy of work for Rotary. We're going to miss you in your new role. Winter Williams is joining us as well. Mark Rosen, Keith Uriarte, Ruth Strupp, Sandeepa, thank you so much. David Kirsten is going to be our Instagram guy. Linda Chu, And then we also, I know, have Stephanie Kazenza helping us out on LinkedIn. So we're going all in this year, thanks to being compelled by the moment and by President Ces. And we're excited to interact in all these new ways.
After we do this, everybody will know about Rotary. Is that right?
We hope.
That's what we'll try to do. Now, we wanted to give you a little time in breakout rooms, so you can just have general fellowship, or you maybe think of some other additional ways that you can help Isaac and Leanne out in their public relations and communications. Let's go into breakout rooms, and that's past President Mary Rutzer. I think you have a special reintroduction to do for us today, to reintroduce somebody. Is that right?
Yes, I do. I am very pleased to reintroduce to everyone today past Oakland Rotary President Ken Richardson. Ken was born and raised in San Francisco at the foot of Mount Davidson and attended Lowell High School. After graduating, after getting a degree in political science at Cal, he attended Northwestern University Law School in Chicago, and then spent 15 years as a litigator with the San Francisco firm of Thielen, Marin, Johnson, and Bridges. In 1989, he opened up his own litigation firm in Oakland. And then 3 years later, after acquiring law partners, Ken renamed the firm Marion's Inn, about to the Inns of Court in London. Ken joined Oakland Rotary number 3 in 1983. His recollection is that when he joined, all of the members, all of them male, of course, wore business suits, except for Ken and his Live Oak reporters, who showed up in baseball caps. One of his favorite memories of those early years was the club's stage debate in which Jack McAvoy argued to the Supreme Court that Rotary International should admit women. Ken also enjoyed participating in Rotary's trip to Ghana in 2002, where he, his son Tim, and other fellow Rotarians inoculated Ghanaian children against polio. After chairing or serving on multiple committees, including the International Service Committee, the Live Oak Committee, the Education Support Committee, the Community Service Committee, and the Cerrone Lena Scholarship Committee, Ken served as club president from 2001 to 2002. When asked to recall the highlights of his year, his initial response was being asked by Carla Betts to serve as president. During Ken's year, his humor and whimsy were often at play as goofy slapstick, as he staged numerous episodes utilizing his Where You Want to Be machine, aided by the irrepressible Alex Holson. In each episode, the club was transported to a far-off location such as Paris or Rome. Another highlight of his year was the staging of Oakland Rotary number 3 versus San Francisco Rotary number 2, where, after serving a summons and complaint on the president of the San Francisco Rotary Club, Ken vociferously argued that Oakland number 3 should actually have the moniker of Oakland number 2. Perhaps the highlight of the case was when the corpse of Paul Harris was brought in by pallbearers. Trust me, you had to be there. And a good time was had by all. By the way, Ken did lose that case. Other events during Ken's year included hands-on projects ranging from improving school gardens to painting a disabled Albers West Oakland home, initiating the club meeting sponsorship program, and the first ever chocolate cook-off with substantial help from Iris Brody Lopez. Plus, a talent show that featured a singing battle between the Testosterone and the Estrogenes. Again, you had to be there. Ken is married to the lovely Kate and has 3 children, Amanda, Tim, and Jane. Since retiring from the practice of law in 2015, he can often be found hiking in the East Bay Regional Parks or zipping around Oakland and Berkeley on his electric bike, which he refers to as his geriatric regression. He remains active in club activities, both local, such as mentoring an Oakland High student through the club's Hope Program Committee, and participating in food distribution and other ad hoc projects, and international. He and his wife attended one of the club's recent trips to Colombia. Ken says he likes Rotary because of the hands-on nature of its international and local projects, the trips, the international exchanges, and because Rotary enables people to do good while experiencing fellowship. Truer words were never spoken. Thank you, Ken, for allowing me to reintroduce you to the club. And President Ces, I would very much like to ring the bell for Ken, but first, Ken, any words?
Wow, more than I deserve, Mary. I too would like to ring the bell as a thank you to Mary for that very kind commentary and for her leaving out mention of any of my many flaws and warts. And Ces, I would also like to ring the bell again in tribute to our grand old club number 3. Thank you very much.
I love those 3 bell ringers. Do we have any more bell ringers? I think I'm seeing some in the chat box. Hello? Sandeepa, you gonna read those out for me?
Susie is reading them out for us.
Okay, can you hear me? I've got Ken Richardson and Sean Callum rang for Barbara. We have Joe Goralka, Greg Morris, Lorna for Ken. We have Sass for Ken, Barbara, and Gail. And then we just had the last few.
All right. Urban, I see one more just popped on. Amy Newman, the president of San Leandro Rotary Club. I'd like to ring the brother for Sass. That's the presidency. We really appreciate those bell ringers that you have. This goes a long way to getting ORE rolling for next year. That's for your year, Dudley. Let's see, what do we have here?
We have a couple more. We had a couple more bell rings.
Okay, what are they?
We had Robert Kidd and Karen Friedman rang the bell for Ken, and as well as John Holmgren.
All right, we got a lot. I know you watching them, Pat, because you got to do the billing. David Stein, tell us about our very special next week's meeting. David? David Stein? Well, I guess he won't. I'll tell you about it. We're going to have a special meeting next week. It'll be on Tuesday, actually, instead of our Oakland Rotary Civic Thursdays. It'll be on Tuesday. It'll be the San Francisco Federal Reserve Bank Chair, President and CEO, Mary Daly. And we have 2 other panelists as well, and they will be all interviewed by Robert Ogilvie, the director of SPUR right here in Oakland. They're putting it out to the San Francisco Federal Reserve Bank whole network as well at the same time. So it's going to be big, but it's going to be on Tuesday. That's the thing I got to get across to everybody. Make sure you tune in to us Tuesday instead of Thursday next week. But in case you don't, yes, go ahead. Pat, you had a comment.
Well, I just wanted to say there was one other bell ring that I want to mention when you're done.
Okay.
Ces, this is David. I just got back on the internet. I got knocked off.
Okay.
I heard you just mention we're on Tuesday the 25th at 12:30. If people have questions, I need you to send them to me in the next 2 hours. Quickly about our speakers, Mary Daly, the president and CEO of the San Francisco Federal Reserve, Dr. Anthony Aiton, who is senior vice president of California Healthy Communities with the California Endowment, overseeing their 10-year multi-million-dollar plan to advance policies and forge partnerships to build healthy communities. He was previously the Alameda County Public Health Director, overseeing their $100+ million budget. And Dr. Carmen Rojas, who is the founder of Workers Labs that helps entrepreneurs and community organizers and government leaders create enterprises. And she is currently the president and CEO of the Marguerite Casey Foundation, where they are trying to imagine a just and equitable society for all. So it's going to be a great program. Please use the information Isaac put out on your social media to invite others to join us.
And make sure you have all the questions into him soon, because we're taping this tomorrow, I think. I would need the questions that you might have to ask of any of the panelists for the meeting. Pat, you said you had one more bell ringer for me.
Well, I have actually two. Merlin Edwards rang the bell for Barbara Lee. And then I wanted to be sure, I don't know if this was mentioned before, but Gail Olkema has a very special day. It's her birthday, and she wanted to ring the bell to celebrate.
If anybody else is interested in ringing the bell for her, I did. One ring the bell for Gail as well. If anybody else is interested, put it in the chat box, and I'm sure Pat will get it. Thank you, David, for telling us about next week's meeting. And thank you, Mia, for the thought for the day. Thank you, Riza, for recognizing Muharram. And thank you, Isaac and Leon, for giving us a whole new direction with our public relations and communications. And thank you, Mary, for reintroducing Ken. And thank you, especially Shonda, for introducing our Congresswoman and the speaker of the day. That was a great, fantastic program we had this one. And I'll like to end this meeting as usual. And that's the way it went in the 5,305th club meeting on August 20th, 2020 at Oakland Rotary number 3, the third oldest Rotary club in the world. Everyone remember, Rotary opens opportunities for service above self. And for now, this meeting is adjourned.